Take 404. Did you know that 4 out of 5 doctors recommend a daily dose of sarcasm? Yeah, no, it's true. I'm doctor number 1 through 4 with a PhD in sarcasm science. William Brandt, a philosopher and author of the book Critique of Sarcastic Reasoning, says sarcasm is hypothesized to develop as a cognitive and emotional tool that adolescents use in order to test the borders of politeness and truth in conversation. I am Trevin James, and sarcasm was a big part of my life growing up and has become a big part of my relationships with friends and family that I have now. Sarcasm is a literary device used to mock or provoke one another with a hint of irony or satire, but may also be used to inflict humor upon its victims. As you can probably guess, my household was just a blast to grow up in. Today we'll be diving headfirst into the cold depths of the literary and philosophical characteristics of sarcasm. I will be testing your understanding of sarcasm while delivering the truths of its characteristics. I'll be doing this by saying sarcastic phrases as I deliver this information. Try and pick up on the sarcasm I use throughout the speech. This will help further your understanding of sarcasm. Looking across the audience now, I see some already confused faces. You must be doctor number 5. During this speech, please grab your sarcastic catcher mitts and try to catch the fast ones flying above your head. And don't worry, if I have to, I will hold your hand. And by the end of this speech, you will be able to understand and identify sarcastic tones, words, and phrases in your day-to-day life, as well as understanding the positive and negative effects of sarcasm. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the movie, because we're gonna have a blast. Sarcasm has an interesting history. It is a literary device that is easier to pick up on when it's delivered verbally or gesturally. In documentation, it is sometimes hard to understand or pinpoint because written sarcasm can be sometimes confused as satire or irony. In the article, The Philosophy of Irony and Sarcasm, Massimo Pinguini, a professor of philosophy at a college in New York, states that sarcasm has the Greek root word naturally, which meant to tear flesh, bite the lip in rage, and sneer. Sarcasm is defined as a literary device usually used to mock or harass someone by stating the opposite of what you mean. This can be used in a humorous manner. Massimo also refers to the great Socrates, one of the fathers of philosophy. Socrates used satire and irony in some of his writings. This writing style hints heavily at sarcastic writing. One example Massimo mentions is when Socrates pleads with Euthyphro to tell him what the author knows. He clearly mocks him for the audience's behalf. This hints at sarcasm. Sarcasm is a literary device that can be effective in showing the speaker's audience their true feelings, frustrations, or thoughts about a certain person or subject. Sarcasm can be witty and be used as a comebacks. In the article Literary Devices, Sarcasm, there's a quote by Oscar Wilde saying, "Sarcasm is the lowest form of wit, but the highest form of intelligence." Sarcasm usually gets confused with verbal irony, but sarcasm is used in more of an aggressive way, ending with mocking the subject. It is important to remember the characteristics of sarcasm when using sarcasm, such as tone and common phrase used, which leads us to my next point. Sarcasm is easier to recognize verbally because of tone of voice. When you hear certain phrases and don't know to be offended or laugh, you must recognize the tone of voice the phrases are presented in. The tone of voice is usually more animated, with a slightly higher voice tone than the speaker's average voice tone. Here are some examples of understanding sarcastic tone of voice. Zombies eat brains. Oh, don't worry, you're safe. See, by the tone of my voice, you can recognize my sarcasm. Here's another phrase that may be harder to recognize. Back when I was in school, when I'd get caught talking too much, my teacher would always say, "Oh, I'm sorry, did the middle of my sentence interrupt the ending of yours?" Yeah, I didn't like that teacher. Homeschooling was the worst. Some really common phrases are, yeah, right, or a sarcastic, thanks. Looking for common phrases or tones in the voice will help you catch the sarcasm in your day-to-day life. These little strategies will help you decipher if the sarcasm was being used to be rude or funny. Once you get the tone of voice and phrasing down, you can work on delivering your sarcasm to an audience. This brings us to my final point: understanding situations of positive and negative sarcasm. Sarcasm can be used in a negative way by mocking or bullying someone. In the article, The Philosophy of Irony and Sarcasm, Henry Watson Fowler, a schoolmaster and lexicographer, says, "The essence of sarcasm is the intention of giving pain by ironically or other bitter words." He describes sarcasm as inflicting pain by using words, or an example of this is the common sarcastic phrase, "I'm not insulting you, I'm just describing you." This is commonly used when making fun of someone. The victim may feel attacked, especially if someone is making fun of their insecurities. Sarcasm has also been viewed as a positive literary device. It has been recognized as closely labeled as a subcategory of humor. In my own personal experience, using sarcasm in a humorous way, joking and having fun with friends and family, has strengthened my relationships with my friends and family. This is best described in the article Sarcasm in Relationships by P. Valerie Daffin. She states, "Both sarcasm and humor are situationally and contextually oriented. In the end, it is up to the viewer in the situation to determine if the sarcasm is positive or negative." You all now can see sarcasm can be used in many different formats and affect different emotions such as anger, humor, sadness, happiness, and can feed on our insecurities. The person who is delivering this message of sarcasm must know what type of audience will be receiving it and understand the science of sarcasm, such as the characteristics and philosophy. This will help determine if their sarcasm will be positive or negative. Today, we've taken an in-depth look at sarcasm. We've gone over how to identify sarcastic tones, words, and phrases in your day-to-day life, and the positive and negative effects of sarcasm. I approve this message. Goodbye to you.